the time the crowd was the loudest was when she would talk about reproductive rights. They've already avoided the male vote in general. This election, it was just straight up nasty.
Back soon. Not only is Harris, you ever notice when you say Harris, nobody knows who the hell you're talking about? No, nobody has any idea. Harris. Hey, where's Harris? They know Kamala. They know Kambabla. That was the nickname I used for a while, but I don't use it anymore because everyone thought I was just mispronouncing her name. I wasn't. Kambabla.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Cozy Corner. I'm your host, Q Smith, and what's up, guys? We are back with another one. So we're going back to back with these reaction videos. As I stated before, this is a segment that I'm adding into the podcasting platform. Just something a little different for us to do. Reactions will be sometimes a part of the conversation, sometimes their own thing. You know, as I said in my last video, sometimes I'll have the camera angle like this to where you guys can kind of see my computer screen, and other times I might just have the audio. Other times I might do it Joe Budden style, and I might just have it like in my head and we're like talking about it and going through it. But today we're going to be reacting again to another reaction video post-election. So I'm really loving these post-election reaction videos over here at Cozy Corner, having difficult conversations, talking about difficult or controversial topics, thinking intentionally and sometimes critically about certain things is, I believe, very necessary. So that's kind of why I set this platform up, so we can kind of engage culture, you know, from sometimes a pretty critical perspective, you know, and other times we should do it from a positive one. But nonetheless, that's what we're here to do today. So we're going to react to something the Cartier family actually reacted to. Shout out to the Cartier family, man. I've been watching them for a while. Like, I love those dudes. 4 conservative black dudes. They're killing it. They always do their thing. So they reacted a couple of hours ago to something that actually was on Ben Shapiro's channel. I believe he was live streaming the election as well as the Cartier family was. I jumped in and out of their live stream a couple times. Most of the time I was watching Fox News. But they covered something that Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson and I believe Dr. Phil, all three of them were kind of in on this conversation. But they started to zero in on the minority vote, and Ben Shapiro kind of asked Dr. Phil about, you know, he's really into individualism. So what did he think about, you know, how the election was panning out compared to that? And then Jordan Peterson jumps in and kind of gives some of his advice about something we're seeing regarding the minority, particularly the black vote. So I thought this was going to be a good one. Like I said, I've been watching Cartier family for a while. Sometimes I'll react to a couple of YouTubers that I personally like to watch. Cartier family is one of them. So you guys will see a couple of them on the channel. Usually I'll shout them out as well because they deserve it. They're usually doing their thing. They keep me up to speed, or they react to something in a way where I could really respect and appreciate their perspective. So I want to give all of those YouTubers honor where honor's due. So let's jump into this reaction video, guys. Let's take a look at what Dr. Phil had to say first. I'm going to pause it a little bit after Dr. Phil and we'll chat, and then we're going to jump into what Jordan Peterson had to say.
And Dr. Phil, one question for you is, obviously you really believe in individualism. That's something that ranks very high on your list. Many of the stats that are coming in right now show that we're watching a major political realignment in real time on a racial basis. That this sort of stranglehold idea that the Democrats were going to win enormous, overwhelming sums of minority voters across the spectrum, that's just not true.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car.
Got two back to back.
Okay, you ready? All right, 100.
Commercials always be messing stuff up.
Buy your house. I can pay you cash for your house, no matter what condition it's in.
Well, one question for you is, obviously you really believe in individualism. That's something that ranks very high on your list. Many of the stats that are coming in right now show that we're watching a major political realignment in real time on a racial basis. That this sort of stranglehold idea that the Democrats were going to win enormous, overwhelming sums of minority voters across the spectrum, that's just not true. The biggest stat of the night so far is Trump winning maybe 45% of the Hispanic vote and up to 25% of the black male vote, according to Kirsten Solstice Anderson, my friend, the pollster over at Echelon Insights. She's done some exit polling suggesting that black men, 23%, are going to vote for President Trump nationally, which is an unheard of number. What do you make of this sort of political realignment?
Well, I think you're saying exactly right, Ben. I think it is a political realignment because people are saying, look, I'm tired of people telling me that because I'm part of a demographically defined group that I can't think for myself. And you've heard me talk very loud and long about the fact that we have to teach critical thinking in this country again. We've got to inspire people to be critical thinkers. That's why I've spoken out so much about these ridiculous campus protest groups that are demonstrating on behalf of Hamas. These are terrorist groups. And we're not teaching young people to be critical thinkers anymore. And we've got this half of America that are truly identity politics. People are smart enough to think for themselves.
Facts.
We're seeing it now.
Identity
people
politics.
are rebelling against this expectation that because I'm black or because I'm female or because I'm a certain age that I have to vote with that block. That's not true. People can think for themselves.
Well, the Democrats are also
So Dr. Phil really touches on a good point here. He talks about identity politics. And I see this every election, but this election, it was just straight up nasty, if I'm honest. If I'm transparent, and I know some of you guys agree, let me know if you agree with that. But I'm telling you right now, to me, it was straight up, it was nasty. So the whole identity politics thing, I love that Dr. Phil touches on the fact that he says, you know, we're experiencing a group of people, or we're experiencing a category of people that are pushing back, and they're saying, hey, just because I'm black, just because I'm a minority, maybe Hispanic, or even that I'm a female, doesn't mean that I have to vote for the Democratic Party. Now, I'm in no way in this video trying to sway anybody to be a part of any political party. At the end of the day, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm a Christian. So first and foremost, I look at every single thing through the lens of Christ. But as far as I'm concerned, like, Christ is my king. So whoever is in the White House, I'm not really worried about it. However, I do identify with what they're talking about here, especially when Dr. Phil says there's some pushback. You know, I deal with a lot of people who kind of sway to the side of identity politics. They'll tell you that they don't, but I can't tell you guys how many times I've been in a conversation with somebody and they have said either they're going to vote for Kamala because she's black. In the past, people have said openly, I can find the videos where they're like, yes, I voted for Obama because he was black. And the whole identity politics thing is so unattractive. Like, it really is distasteful, because I mean, if you're not a Christian, then you're not a Christian. That's a whole different thing. But you should at least be examining the policies that the candidates are bringing forth to us and saying, hey, these are the things that I want to put into action. And they should be scrutinized to some degree. You should be asking yourself, is this good? Why this particular policy? Why the push behind this? Why so much aggression or so much, I don't know, so many people are on the side of this thing. Like, we really need to get into the habit of kind of saying to ourselves, like, why is this going on? As far as Dr. Phil touching on the fact that, people are saying that we can think for ourselves, we can vote for ourselves. I agree with him on that. Sometimes I feel like, especially a little bit more on the liberal side, that people kind of think that we're not paying attention, meaning people that either look like me or just of a minority category in general. And not saying that none of us pay attention, but kind of that they just guesstimate or say to themselves, none of them pay attention. When in fact, there are a good amount of us that are not just conservative leaning, but also pay attention to politics. And it's true. This is the reason why I think during the DNC, we saw so much madness and so much what I personally thought was garbage on the stage. Not so much of the pushing policies, but all of the entertainers and all of, the jokes and just the craziness. It was really hard, I felt like, to focus on like what should be going on and what policies I should be listening to when I compared it to the RNC sometimes. And they had their own set of madness, but it was a little different. So now what we're going to do is we're going to try to jump into something that Jordan Peterson says in regards to kind of piggybacking off of Dr. Phil.
Was running afoul of their own intersectional claims. It's like there are black men, and it isn't obvious that men are doing that well.
I'm gonna keep it up.
On the Democrat side, and that's because the Democrats don't.
Now Jordan Peterson says it's not like it's not obvious that men aren't doing well on the Democratic side. So that was Jordan Peterson's comment.
Really seem to like men, and so maybe it's.
And he says that Democrats don't really seem to like men. So that was a shot. Shout out to Jordan Peterson. I like him. I watch his stuff, but that was definitely a Democratic shot right there when he said that.
Well, they've done everything they could, you might say, from an ideological perspective to attract the black vote, but they've abandoned the male vote, and maybe the black men are men first and black second. Right.
And when I heard Jordan Peterson say this, I loved it. Like, I was so happy because I was like, you don't say. Finally, someone's paying attention. If you guys caught that last part, he said, they've done everything they can. He's predominantly talking to the Democratic side at this point, and he's saying nothing's working, and it could be a possibility that, they've already avoided the male vote in general. So could it be a possibility that, that they're men and they're black, but could it be possible that they're men before they're black? And I'm like, you don't say. Somebody's finally paying attention to it who's also not black. So shout out to Jordan Peterson for that comment, because that's exactly what this is. And it's like, it really does seem like on the Democratic side, at least for the last couple of years, it kind of seems like they've kind of ignored, the male side of things. And I think what that has caused over the years is it's caused a lot of men, especially men of minority groups, to be like, okay, I see what's going on here. Like, we're not a priority. Like, this is actually a priority for you. Like, the whole, like, women's rights, reproductive rights, pushing certain agendas in school and allowing certain things to happen in our schools. But you're really not too concerned about not just if black men are working, but if any men are working, and I really thought that was a great observation by him. Ben Shapiro goes on at some point to say that, the whole movement, mainly speaking to Kamala Harris's administration, is really a hateful movement, because they're not only appealing to single women, but they're kind of shunning men. And, I really have to kind of agree with him there on that. It might not seem like that, but really, if you go back and you really pay attention to the DNC and a lot of the propaganda and the things that were talked about, it really didn't seem like it had a lot to do with the working class or the male worker or even the female worker. It was just a whole bunch of things that really pertain to a whole bunch of nothing. And that's exactly why I created this platform, at least this segment of reacting to certain things and then me kind of reacting to it with you guys real time and then turning and having a conversation with you as if you were in the room with me. Because from a cultural standpoint, this does matter, because there are people my age and younger that are going to watch this and they're going to think about this stuff, and some are going to think critically, intentionally about it, others not so much, and kind of just choose the side a little more blindly. And I really think we need to pay attention to some of the things that are being said. One thing that stuck out to me first and foremost about the election, what I could say post-election now looking in hindsight, is that America spoke. And I mean, I don't really know about you guys and where you stand as far as patriotism, but I fought for this country. I spent 8 years in the Marine Corps. So it meant a lot to me to see just how much America spoke. You know, there are times where I've been really disappointed at how elections have turned out, because I could just tell like there weren't a lot of people voting. But it really seemed like this time around, the people were like, yeah, no, like, we're not doing that. Like, you're not going to pull the old okey doke on us. Like, we're paying attention this time. So I was really excited to just kind of see the turnout for me, not necessarily the results and who won, but just to see so many votes, you know, just to see whatever candidate was up at any point in time. It was always by like 200,000 votes, you know, or even 1 million. And this is much later on, because early on it wasn't really a big difference like that. But much later on, as we started to get the results of who would be the next president of the United States, we really started to see really huge gaps, which was a good indicator that a lot of people just went out and voted. And I was just super excited to see that happen. So I'm definitely interested to know what you guys think about this whole interaction with Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, Dr. Phil. Do you guys watch any of these guys? Do you pay attention to them? These are guys that I normally watch on the normal and on a regular. I normally watch a lot of things by Ben Shapiro. I like Jordan Peterson. Like I mentioned, the Cartier family, shout out to them. So I'm really interested to know, like, what do you guys think about this? Do you feel like the Democratic Party has abandoned the male vote over the last couple of years? I certainly have. It's been pretty obvious to me. I think the worst part of it was just kind of watching that every single time there was any policy being hardcore driven, it really was just mainly towards reproductive rights. Like, I heard, you know, giving grants to like small businesses and for homeowners and for new parents. Like, I definitely heard some of Kamala Harris's policies on that as well. But I think what really got to me was that the time the crowd was the loudest was when she would talk about reproductive rights. And that was just, it was a cringe moment, if I'm honest. That was cringy. That was hard for me, you know, especially, you know, being a Christian. It's like, why are we cheering for murder? That's just what went through my head. So interested to know what you guys thought about this. Super excited to have spent this time with you guys and be back. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a couple days with another one. And remember, guys, think critically about things. Think intentionally about things. We don't always want to be critical, because it doesn't have to be negative. But we want to be intentional with the way we're thinking. We want to be observant. You know, we want to be attentive. And most of all, in our thinking, like, we want to be in cozy spaces where we could be transparent. We could be honest and say, hey, I support that. Hey, I really hate that. And we could just talk about it. So look forward to seeing you guys next time. Peace.